Yeah, he hits the button.
It's almost time, guys.
Here we go.
Almost time.
Here we go. Are you guys ready?
Let's count it down.
10.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And nothing. What about you guys? Nothing?
No, nothing.
Literally nothing.
What did we get these timers for?
Black screen.
What a bummer, man. Happy New Year.
It's cold. I'm going up.
You're telling me all that hype for 4 months for no reason? You kidding me?
What a letdown. Jeez. Holy crap.
Wait a minute. You guys try it again. Something just came in.
Try what?
Seriously, check it out. Holy crap. I see it. You see that?
I see it indeed. Hangman. Woo! Guys,
Holy crap.
we're going double or nothing. Hangman, show us yours.
Oh, mine says something different.
Never look back, no, never say die. Always attack with the warrior cry. Never look back, no, never retreat. Never look back, never say defeat.
If you are a wrestling fan and that did not give you goosebumps, there's something wrong with you, and you cannot
like that
call
video?
yourself a wrestling fan as far as I'm concerned.
Correct.
Oh, yeah.
That is correct, sir.
Welcome to the fucking War Report 2019 and the announcement of Elite Wrestling.
And
Dude,
it might actually be another war. We could be right back into it, man.
this could be the Monday Night War that the kids
Part two.
now didn't have the opportunity to go through like we did.
For sure.
Which was the greatest fucking time to be a fan. And now, if Vince gets competition, legit competition, no Dixie Carter bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, dude, this is. Just remember, Triple
Oh, remember
H-
when she owned a wrestling company?
Yeah, listen, let me say this. Even though Triple H is NXT, right? No doubt about it. There would have been no NXT as far as I'm concerned without Dusty Rhodes. And the
That's
name
dead, baby.
Rhodes, you talk about Cody and look what he's done for himself since leaving WWE and almost reinventing himself. He's got the mind his father has. He's got his head on straight and he's making the right moves. And I'm telling you, this is going to be big. They're going to do it right, and it's going to be big, and we're going to get some competition again. It's going to give wrestling fans another place to watch some wrestling. And, listen, one of the best parts of the Monday Night Wars, and we're getting way ahead of ourselves, assuming it's going to be on Mondays and right away they're going to go out the doors because I don't think they're going to
No,
right
I
off
don't. I
the
think
bat.
it's going to be I think they're doing a Tuesday show, which is
Right.
smarter.
Right. I mean, you can't really go right up against Vince right off the bat. You got to ease into it. You got to build some momentum, and they're going to get the momentum because I just have a feeling we're going to see some great names, and it's going to really stir shit up. But with that being said, this is big. This is exciting for the world of wrestling, and I'll tell you something else. It's only going to make WWE better. When Vince McMahon has competition and there's another player in the game, legit competition that he sees, he will go balls to the wall. He's already starting to make some changes and get into that. But this is a good 2019 is going to be the comeback for WWE, in my opinion.
I hope so.
It'll be. This whole thing, like you said, can only benefit everybody in wrestling.
Everybody.
It opens another opportunity. Somebody who might not be seen by WWE or maybe has fallen off their radar or isn't on their radar at all can have an opportunity because through the independent scene and whatever else, just the connections that the Cody's got and the Bucks have and the SCU guys have, they can uncover some diamonds in the rough that might not have gotten that exposure before.
Or want to go to WWE,
right? Or what? Like one of the first guys I thought of was Neville Pac.
Yeah,
I feel like he could be a good fit for them.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to remember too that this is what's really great about something like this, and talent that has just been under the radar, like you said, and just hasn't been given that opportunity, hasn't had that exposure. When you have something that could potentially be really big right now, it only takes one match. It only takes one really solid match for somebody to say, hey, did you see that? Did you watch this? And you're on the radar, and at the end of the day, especially the younger guys that are going to get the shot with Elite potentially, when Vince McMahon comes knocking, they're going to take that opportunity, and we're going to get to see, which was one of the most exciting parts of the war, the flip-flopping, and you're going to see the people showing up and,
the jumping and who jumps shit.
I don't think it's going to be as crazy as WCW and WWF.
At least not right away, no.
Well, they can't listen. They can't copy it. It's got to be done creatively. It's got to be something a little different.
Yeah,
just with the contracts and everything being different.
Well, I heard I was listening to the New Year's edition of Wrestling Observer, and Dave Meltzer was on with Brian Alvarez, and Dave was saying there was a developmental contract that WWE offered to an independent guy that is multiples more than the standard developmental contract, because as of now, the market has changed and the game has changed. So WWE, in order to retain or to acquire this talent, is going to have to pay out more to keep them.
Oh.
So those offers, those new offers that are going out are big money. And the same thing with Ring of Honor's throwing out money. They threw out big money to Bandito, Lucha Libre wrestler, to sign him exclusively in the U.S., but he still is allowed to work Japan. He's still allowed to work Mexico, but Bandito is now a Ring of Honor exclusive here in the United States. And that was a guy that WWE was looking at, and that was a guy that All Elite Wrestling was looking at. So money.
I'd love to know the WWE guy who got the contract.
We'll probably see within the next couple months. Leading up to WrestleMania, we'll have somebody in a suit at a takeover waving to the camera or something like that. So
smelling all goofy at the camera.
Hi. Yeah, it's like the first suit they've ever owned. Like Matt Riddle. When would Matt Riddle ever wear a suit?
And he still was wearing sandals.
Yeah, he was going to say he wasn't even wearing shoes.
I mean, listen, this really just shows you that, this is exactly why everyone was like, how could Cody and the Bucks and all them turn down such lucrative offers? They're seeing the bigger picture. The WWE is always going to want them. So if they have an opportunity now to try this, why the fuck not? You know what I mean? If Eric Bischoff can be hired by Vince McMahon after everything that went down during the war, then Cody has to never worry about Vince ever not wanting him to go, or even the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks have been proven that time and time again the WWE wants them, and they're doing it the right way. They really are. They're playing it right.
It'll just make Vince want them more.
And that's the thing. If I think what they're figuring is, even if this All Elite Wrestling thing fizzles, then Vince McMahon will figure, I can scoop him up for a song and a dance. So it's almost like Vince will sign you either way, whether you're a big star and he can get you for big star money, or if you're kind of an underneath guy, he can get you for underneath guy money. So I think they're set either way. I mean, financially right now, I think those guys are probably pretty set, or else they wouldn't be doing this. And also they've got a big financial backer in Tony Khan, the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's kind of a big deal. They're doing a rally January 8th in the parking lot of the Jacksonville Jaguars Stadium.
For free, too. They're
yeah.
encouraging fans to come down.
And it's either Raw or SmackDown is that night.
SmackDown.
So it's nearby. So this is definitely they're trying to engage that audience. And I'm sure what's going to happen is end of this week on the 4th is Wrestle Kingdom 13 from the Tokyo Dome. So a lot of things are going to come out in the wash for that, because Kenny Omega and Tanahashi are wrestling for the big title, the IWGP Heavyweight Championship, and that'll pretty much determine whether or not Kenny's staying in Japan or if Kenny is going to make the move to All Elite Wrestling, and then they'll have something to announce by the 8th.
Well, now hold on a second, because from what I'm also hearing is that WWE is still very much offering, so that's not off the table for Kenny. I think Kenny. I personally listen. I don't know him, but I personally think that it's something that he definitely wants to entertain.
Oh, for sure. So the timeline is this: January 4th is the Tokyo Dome. January 8th is the All Elite Wrestling announcement. Supposedly, January 30th is the end of Kenny Omega's New Japan contract. So over the next few weeks, we should be hearing about what direction, whether it is WWE or whether it's Japan or All Elite Wrestling, what direction Kenny Omega is going to take. The Tokyo Dome show is going to work out. The Bucks are involved in some matches. Some of the other Bullet Club guys are involved in some of the matches.
What do you guys think? I mean, what's your gut tell you? You got, let's say, there are all three offers are on the table.
Ooh.
New Japan, Elite, WWE. And I'm talking Vince McMahon doesn't even say NXT. He says you go right to SmackDown. What do you do?
Rough.
What do you do?
I'm sure the money with WWE would be fantastic.
Kenny's getting up there, isn't he, in age?
He's
he's got to be in his 30s, right?
Well, he's definitely in his 30s. But think about it.
Wrestling world, he's getting up there.
Yeah, AJ Styles started with WWE when he was like 39, though.
Very true. Very true. But he's also phenomenal.
Right. Kenny Omega's 35.
He's 30. Wow, wait. All right.
So
I'm still older than him. Fucking
It's hard for me to say because I think there is something still to be said, despite the terrible programming most of the time. WWE is the Coca-Cola of pro wrestling. They're the Chevrolet. They're the fucking Band-Aid. They're Kleenex. They're McDonald's. When you think of wrestling, you think of WWE. When you think of MMA, you think of UFC. There's very few ways you can correlate. It's like when you think of baseball, you usually think what? Yankees, Red Sox. Who else? Fuck. Nobody else. When you think of football, you think of like the Patriots and the Cowboys. Yeah, the big name franchises. So when it comes to wrestling, that's still the top. And no matter what, to look back on your career and say, I wrestled at WrestleMania, I wrestled in the main event of WrestleMania, I won the world title at WrestleMania, that's still a big deal. Even if it was when WrestleMania was at the Hartford Civic Center and 20,000 people showed up. It's still a WrestleMania. It could have been WrestleMania 9 in Caesar's Palace parking lot. Yeah. It's still WrestleMania, and you made it to the mountaintop, so to speak. Hard to say. It
depends on what you want to do. If you want to make a big impact, then you go all elite.
If you go all elite, Kenny Omega is going to be their top guy. He will be treated like the top guy. You go to SmackDown, and there's a chance that you're doing a goddamn tea party with Sheamus and Santino backstage, and dancing with Gold Dust or some shit.
I don't know. I think a lot of those days are coming to an end finally. I think you're right because,
as of today, the UFC is officially done with Fox and is now part of the ESPN family. Well, in their U.S. agreements. Fox and WWE are setting up.
Anyone hear that clicking?
Yeah. Must have been like a mouse or something.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Fox and the WWE are trying to set up SmackDown to be a more serious program in terms of being taken seriously sports-wise. There's been talks of UFC heavyweight champion Daniel Cormier being a commentator for SmackDown.
Really?
WWE, yes. He did an audition to be a commentator for SmackDown for when they make the move to Fox.
That's
and the WWE, I think you might have saw this early last week. Pat McAfee, the former kicker for the Indianapolis Colts, who used to work for Barstool Radio, who now works for Heartland Sports. It's his own company, sports company, like sports blogging and all that. He's signed to a commentator's deal now. And I
didn't get the commentators part when I read.
He was doing pre-show. It's going to be similar. It's a panelist kind of whatever position. But what I'm thinking is they want to audition this guy for a year because SmackDown isn't making the move yet. If he's good enough, you've got a guy like Daniel Cormier who can go in. Yeah. He's a professional athlete. You got Pat McAfee, professional athlete. It's legitimizing the commentary and legitimizing the product to make it more like a sport, but still keep it
pro
entertaining.
Wrestling.
Right. It's still going to be pro wrestling because you're never going to leave that kind of perception of, there's going to be goofy stuff. There's always going to be goofy stuff in wrestling. Yeah. So that's what keeps it pro wrestling. But I just feel like maybe Raw is going to be more the entertainment product and then SmackDown will be the sport product. That's possible. But I just feel like SmackDown, they're going to have to make SmackDown feel different when it moves to Fox. It can't just be the same because right now they're on the same network at the same time a day apart. They feel very similar aside from the rosters and how the rosters wrestle, but they feel like very similar. If Fox takes over and makes this just a different feel, I think that's where their success will be because then people who don't usually watch wrestling, maybe they watch a sport that night and they're tuning in, maybe they'll start watching. I don't know. This is 2019 is set to be an interesting time for pro wrestling.
That's for sure.
Definitely.
Because I'm really looking forward to Wrestle Kingdom. I'm not looking forward to the fact the show starts like 4 a.m. But
no, that's never.
I can always catch it later after the show goes up. I can go and just watch it after. But there's something about watching it live as it happens. But this January, between now and I don't know, now and WrestleMania, because Ring of Honor's got Madison Square Garden. Well, it's Ring of Honor and New Japan have Madison Square Garden WrestleMania weekend. And the Young Bucks have already said they're going to be in New York, but they didn't necessarily say they were going to be at that Madison Square Garden show.
Yeah.
So maybe this January announcement is going to be something that's happening WrestleMania weekend in New York. We could be looking at a whole different wrestling landscape come March because as you look at it right now, WWE is number one, and they're even with this All Elite Wrestling thing, they're still going to be number one. The number 2 spot's where it's interesting because right now Ring of Honor is number 2, and like Impact and Lucha Underground are behind them. But All Elite Wrestling, they kind of jump in right at number 2. And I'm not saying they're going to overtake Ring of Honor right away, but they have just on the hype and the names behind it. It almost seems like they could be the default number 2 right out of the box just from the interest that they're going to get. And then it's the matter of because right now the number 2 Ring of Honor is a distant number 2. If All Elite Wrestling passes Ring of Honor, I'm not saying they're going to catch WWE, but they could be a closer number 2, and they could be. Yeah. They don't have to make WWE money. But if they make half that or a quarter, whatever profits they make, it's just going to go to show how popular their particular brand or their particular product is. So I'm it's exciting. This is a good time to be a wrestling fan, and potentially a good time to jump in. Like if you haven't watched in a while, maybe right around WrestleMania season is when you jump in, because you're going to have the option to watch a lot of different brands compete that weekend, whether it's live in person or on a streaming service or on a website. You can order a lot of these events, so it'll be a good chance to kind of pick and choose a sampler platter, a poo-poo platter of wrestling over WrestleMania weekend, and see who you want to stick with going forward.
It's going to be phenomenal. Everything about, I mean, there's so much to look forward to this year, you know, and listen, you know, one of those things, if you are a true, and I'm not even going to say wrestling fan, if you are a true WWE fan, you stick with them in the highs, you stick with them in the lows. In anything ever, there are going to be lows. There's going to be shows that some seasons just aren't as great as others. And you're going to have, you know, just shit that just drives you crazy and this and that. But one thing is for sure, when they say they're listening, it's not just TV. They are listening, and they are making changes. And it's being shown slowly but surely every week a little bit more. Things are happening. You got guys coming back that are going to change the landscape, like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. You got all these NXT guys coming up like EC3. I'm telling you, I've been saying it, EC3 is going to be a game changer. You've got so many great things on the horizon. You have now they announced the women's tag titles. Finally, I mean, we all knew it was coming, and now they made that announcement. So that's going to be something different. There's just a lot of good stuff to look forward to, and I think they're finally going to do the right thing. But I will say this: I don't care what they say. I still have a feeling that Brock Lesnar's keeping that strap until Mania.
You know, I was thinking about this because they haven't announced Brock Lesnar's UFC fight. He entered the testing pool.
Yeah.
He has tested. However, and this is what happened with John Jones, and don't even get me started about John Jones. Long story short, fuck John Jones. He's a great fighter, but he's a cheat. He's this frustrating part about John Jones, he's so good he doesn't need to cheat, but he still cheats. And that's the infuriating thing about it. If he was clean, he would be legit. So, but here's the thing. UFC decided back in August or September that they were not going to release the result. They weren't releasing failed drug test results under, like, I don't know what the timeline is, but they weren't releasing them until they were like documented or official. And that's how this thing came up with John Jones. It turns out he failed like 3 tests this year, but they never announced them. So Brock Lesnar's tests, they never announced any of the results of him. So speculation is, I'm on some MMA forums in addition to the wrestling stuff, is that Brock Lesnar may not have passed his USADA urine tests.
Really?
So he may not be cleared to fight with the UFC. So
jeez.
If he's not cleared to fight with the UFC, Steve, I think you're right. He's going to be walking into WrestleMania with that fucking belt for like the 18th time in a row.
Yeah. Listen, I got to be honest with you. Even if the UFC thing happened, I think he rolls into UFC wearing the WWE strap.
Yeah.
That would be something.
I mean, I can totally see that happening. You know, listen, the relationship between, Dana White and Vince is solid. And I think they can most certainly, make something happen if they wanted to.
They've certainly gotten closer over these last couple of years because,
especially with Ronda.
Well, with Ronda and with Brock, because Brock's in a different position than Ronda because she went from one to the other.
Right.
Brock is flip-flopping, but not. He's in both, like 1 foot in.
Yeah.
So now they have to work together to figure out how they're going to schedule things and all that. So
that's true.
I'm sure Dana and Vince have a lot more communication now than they did 10 years ago. And especially because Dana was at WrestleMania this year. I don't think he ever goes to WrestleMania. You know what I mean? I don't feel like he's not a WrestleMania guy, but he was there for Ronda. He was there for Brock.
I think it was more for Ronda. I think he wanted to show his support.
But
he was always very close with Ronda,
Yeah, and then one of the girls that knocked out Ronda, Amanda Nunes, beat the shit out of Cyborg this weekend. Holy shit. So everybody was kind of talking about, oh, wow, Ronda got knocked out by Amanda Nunes, like how it was like surprising, or like Amanda Nunes was kind of like maybe not as good of a fighter as they thought. And then she goes out there against legitimately pound for pound the baddest MMA fighter on the planet, Chris Cyborg, and just beats the shit out of her in the same amount of time, 51 seconds. It was ridiculous. So now they've got a big star in Amanda Nunes over there now because she knocked out Ronda and she knocked out Cyborg, and she's the double champ. And I think she can defend both weight classes. They're only 10 pounds apart, 145 and 135. I think she can do both. So that's
not only did she beat them both, but in the time that she did it.
Yeah. Under 49 seconds for Ronda, 51 seconds for Cyborg. Pretty impressive. And here's the other thing, which Cyborg now has decided that she's a free agent. So if you remember, over the summer, she was challenging Becky to a match at SummerSlam.
Yeah, I do remember that.
I do vaguely remember that, actually.
So Cyborg could either stay in the UFC and legitimately get punched in the face by real fighters that are trying to knock her out, or she could do what Ronda did and go to wrestling and not get punched in the face for real, unless Naya's out there, I guess, but not get punched in the face for real and make just as much money. So we could have
choices, right?
and it's not just Cyborg. Paige Van Zant, she's so pretty. I don't see her staying in the UFC very long, get punched in the face and have her good looks ruined. She won Dancing with the Stars. She doesn't need the UFC.
That's crazy. She even decided to go UFC.
But that just shows you how much she really wanted to do it. Like, it's not really a publicity.
No, it's not it's just when you're that good looking, you don't want your face.
You really shouldn't want to get punched in the face. But anyway, she was talking last year with the WWE. So I feel like we're going to get, in the way that 10 or 15 years ago, all the wrestlers or guys that were training to be wrestlers went, well, I want to go to the UFC now. It's flipping the back the other way. They're going, wait a minute. We're going out here fighting for real. This guy could break my arm, crack my orbital, and any number of bad things could happen to me. Or I can go train wrestling.
Yeah.
So now the pendulum is swung back the other way. It's an interesting time to be a wrestling fan. And they made the transition. Matt Riddle, Ronda Rousey. There you go. Those are two prime examples of people who were MMA fighters long before they were pro wrestlers, and really made a good transition into the sport. So
Matt Riddle had a good showing on the Edge and Christian podcast.
Yes,
his story was great.
He's an interesting character, that guy.
That's putting it lightly.
Yeah. He said, anybody call it his debut?
Yeah.
And he keeps calling it his debut. What a weirdo. But a very, very good wrestler. And I think he's another guy. I get why they want him in NXT to kind of get him used to the system and work him in. He's a guy like Kenny Omega to me, where you could put him on the main roster and people would just love it.
Oh,
they
100%.
eat it up.
100%.
And I think, he'll be a guy that by October, is that when SmackDown's moving? October?
Yeah, October.
I have a feeling that you're going to see some shuffling of the deck, and your legitimate fighters like your Rondas and your Matt Riddles are going to be on SmackDown. I think that's probably coming.
Makes sense.
How would you guys feel about unifying the titles in terms of the men's and women's world championships?
I could tell you Eric would be thrilled with that.
I was going to say that. Eric would be on board instantly.
I don't know. That's just one thing I really have never agreed with Eric on, is that I do enjoy having the two titles. I wish there was a different way they could go about doing it, I guess, but I don't know.
Yeah, because I understand the need for the two titles, especially if right now it would make sense to have one because both shows are on USA Network. But when you split them, when you split networks, I can see how Fox wouldn't want to be promoting, hey, our champion, whoever it is.
He's on Monday nights.
Yeah, he's also going to be on USA Network on Monday. And it's like, right. So you want those two separate. I understand that. I almost wish maybe they could do something, since there are weight classes sort of in wrestling. If the Universal Championship became like a super heavyweight title, where only guys like Braun and Brock and big motherfuckers, all the big guys fight for the Universal title, and then the heavyweight championship can be your AJ Styleses and your Seth Rollinses. And then you've got guys like Drew who could go back and forth between both, because he's a big guy, but he's also he's leaned out. He's a lean big guy.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just spitballing here because to me, you have the two women's titles, the two men's titles, the IC, the US. Both brands have the tag team championships. Are both brands going to have women's tag team championships too? That's another 4 championship belts between the two programs.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't even think of that. That's true though.
Because they have the SmackDown women's and the Raw women's.
I mean, yeah, you would have to assume it's going to be on both.
So unless they're changing their philosophy of maybe the tag team, it would almost be like a test thing if they took the tag team titles and unified them, and then had the women's tag team title just be one set of titles, and see how that works. And because if it doesn't work, it's the tag team titles. Who gives a fuck? You just split them up again.
Well, that's true.
But I don't know. It's just that was my next thought, because we were talking about the announcement from Santa Claus Vince McMahon about the women's tag team championships. Oh yeah, that's great. You ever seen Bad Santa?
That was funny. Vince had a tough time with the costume, with the beard. It was so funny.
I was hoping there was some kind of outtake of Vince that they would show like online of him getting like, get this goddamn suit off of me.
Just freaking out.
Hear him flip out like Bill O'Reilly. Fuck it, we'll do it live.
We'll do it live.
That would have been a great.
Howard loves that clip.
That'd been great if some part of the suit wasn't working. Just recreate the Do It Live.
Listen, Vince is the master of Do It Live. He tore both his quads live on pay-per-view and still fucking held that segment together. Who watched Raw? I didn't. Spoiler alert. I fell asleep.
I totally forgot it was on because I
watched it afterwards.
All right,
I have not yet. I saw the week before, and that's why I can say that,
I watched it on Hulu just mainly for the Ronda Natalia match.
Oh, okay. How was that?
That was a great match.
And I heard there was
definitely worth going back and watching.
The other one I wanted to watch was Dolph and Drew in a cage match.
Yeah, and that kicked off the show.
How was that?
I can watch that.
That was good. Kind of went the way you expected with McIntyre getting the win.
He had to.
In a dominant fashion.
Yeah, and he had to do that too, because I feel like if Braun isn't the guy that takes the title from Brock, it's got to be Drew. Otherwise, Brock Lesnar is going to hold it until literally somebody decides they're going to like pull a fucking gun during a match and shoot him and take the title. Like there ain't too many ways you can beat Brock Lesnar. A gun is one of them.
Just straight up. Literally shoot on him.
Like, yeah, that's really, I mean, what else can you do? And if you miss, you run. You only have so many shots. If you miss, you got to run.
Throw the gun at him.
Yeah, you just eventually you just throw the gun. You waste 6 shots and you just throw the gun. But if Braun, which I would love to see Braun. First of all, they should have done this with Braun
ages ago,
18 months ago. I feel like
last WrestleMania.
It was either last WrestleMania while he was wrestling with Nicholas, so he couldn't. Oh, they couldn't do that.
Oh that match could never not have happened.
Right. But there was a point where over that summer before that WrestleMania, he was in those matches with Brock and with Roman, And of course, they didn't know what they know now about Roman leaving.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't. I'm sure if they did, things would have been different, and maybe they would have pulled the trigger on Braun. Because I feel
they
like
should have pulled the trigger regardless.
when he was getting those get these hands chants, and like he flipped over a car, and then he flipped over a truck, and then he flipped over a whole production thing, and like he just kept flipping things over of bigger and bigger size, and the pops kept getting bigger and bigger. That was the point. You have him beat Brock in like a last man standing match where he lifts up something heavy and places it on top of him.
Yeah, just up it to the absurd degree. And
it didn't have to be Brock losing on a pinfall. I get that there's money in Brock losing to a clean pinfall. There's absolutely money in Brock losing to a clean pinfall. But there's a way to work around that. You do goofy, you do a cage match and Braun gets out first. Or you do a tables match that one time with Big Show where he stepped through the table accidentally and then Cody Rhodes won. I mean, there's all kinds of things you could do to work out finishes where the guy isn't getting pinned, but he still loses the title. Braun would be in a much better position today if they pulled the trigger on him last year.
Oh, easily.
But I feel like this Royal Rumble is the make or break for him. If he wins the title, it makes him. If he doesn't, he's another guy like Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, exactly.
Perennial contender, always a contender, never a champion. And he won it once, and then they put worms in the ring.
Yeah.
And he threw a fridge on top of Randy Orton. It was the worst. But
he threw a fridge on Randy Orton and still lost.
And then Randy Orton lit his house on fire.
Yeah.
That's the worst. The absolute worst. But this goes with Bray Wyatt. This goes back to WrestleMania 30, like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
He wrestled John Cena at WrestleMania 30.
Yeah.
And there was no reason why Bray Wyatt shouldn't have won that match. And then the next year he wrestles The Undertaker and loses because he had to lose because Brock beat The Undertaker the year before. So The Undertaker needed to get wins back at WrestleMania.
He needed to get his heat back, brother.
Yeah, exactly. And it was at the cost of Bray Wyatt. So again, from 30 to 31, that's 2 years.
Yep.
Or a whole calendar year that's just fucked up. And then they never really got him right because they wouldn't. When the time came for him to win, right, they wouldn't pull the trigger on the big win. And that's the problem with Braun as well. They're not pulling the trigger on the big win.
Well, they also gave Bray Wyatt the pin over Cena, and they did nothing with it.
Yeah, eventually.
They did the Elimination Chamber, then he pinned him on SmackDown, and nothing came of it.
Right. It's he is my biggest... along with Dolph Ziggler, those two guys are like the biggest wastes of potential because those guys were main event guys or could have been big time players and they just fucked it up.
Yeah, they did.
Now, Zack Ryder is a different story.
Yeah. Zack Ryder could have had something. I mean, look how big he was back in 11.
Yeah, but he's been. I mean,
and they used him once on Raw.
Did they use him?
They used him in a battle royale.
Hey, he wrestled one match on Raw in 2018,
and he wasn't the center focus.
Of course not. But the thing is, like, I feel bad for him, but at the same time, I don't because he's getting paid by them, obviously very well because he's not leaving. But he's been with the company for something like 13 years and hasn't really done anything.
Here's my thing, though. If you're WWE, right, and you're going to continue to pay this guy but not use him at all except for probably some house shows where he's just probably losing, what's the point? Just release him then. You know what I mean? Like, that kid has done everything he possibly can, and he got himself over without WWE. He fucking did it on his own on YouTube and made himself a fucking star and made himself, So, and then WWE almost wanted to make it like, no. We're the ones that are going to get you over, not yourself.
Yeah.
And then, they shut him down.
And they Kane murder him.
Yeah.
For a month.
Kane literally murdered him, though. He
Yeah.
threw him off the stage in a fucking wheelchair. That's one of the scariest things I've ever seen on a wrestling show.
That is up there.
Because there was no real padding. He's going down in a wheelchair. The wheelchair doesn't land right. It's metal. There was all kinds of ways that could have gone really wrong.
Yeah, totally.
But what do you?
I think it's the philosophy that WWE doesn't want anybody else to play with their toys that can be better.
Right.
They want them to be in that purgatory.
So that's the thing. He's content to work some house shows and collect his paycheck when, if he wanted to, he could go out there and try Japan. He could try All Elite Wrestling. He could try doing an indie run. Ring of Honor, any of the indies, Lucha Underground. Who knows? I mean, if he wanted to try and do that, he certainly could. But
he could
seems like he's made his choice. Yeah, he could, and I think he's made his choice because he, as Steve was talking about before, there's wrestling fans and there's WWE fans.
Yeah, he's definitely a WWE fan.
Right. He collects those Hasbro figures and spends thousands of dollars on the Kamala with the wrong color moon on the belly, and I
and the prototype figures and all that.
Yeah, so he's big into that. He is he idolized Hulk Hogan and Macho Man and all those, and Ultimate Warrior, all those guys growing up. That's the company he wanted to work for. I'm sure if WCW was around, he wouldn't work for WCW either. Like he's a lifer. That was his goal. His goal was to be in WWE, not to be
in All Elite or Ring of Honor or anything like that.
But I wonder if you put it to him, you could be Ring of Honor World Champion versus this. Would you do? I don't know.
I think a few wrestlers probably presented him that scenario.
I'd say you're absolutely out of your mind if you pass that opportunity up.
I know. I just feel like he's at the point where he's one of those guys that would benefit, like Drew. Drew left for a couple years.
Yeah.
And came back. Like, and I'm not saying a guy who's almost 40 is going to come back and have like a, Hall of Fame career, but there are other ways to prove yourself in wrestling if you want to prove yourself. I don't see what his future. See, what do you think his future would be in WWE? I feel like he's destined to just be that guy, the job guy.
I don't see how they can rebound his career without a huge gimmick change.
I agree. I agree.
He's got a nice beard. I feel like his hair is running away from his face, but poor guy. He had a whole take care, spike your hair thing, and then slowly but surely.
I will do that to you.
But Ryan, you're right. He got over on that YouTube show. Then this was back when WWE really didn't understand YouTube.
Yeah.
They took the show off of Zach's YouTube.
Put it on WWE's.
Right.
Killed it eventually.
Killed it because the reason it worked on his channel was he was writing all the stuff and filming all the skits. And when it moved over to the WWE's channel, it became their property. They started assigning writers to it and trying to do different things on the show. And that's where they didn't understand it.
That Ian Malcolm rant about Jurassic Park on how they didn't understand it. They put it in a box and went out and sold it.
Yeah, right. And now with like Up, Down, Down, they understand it's its own channel. It has to be, that thing has to be its own channel to feel unique. If Up, Down, Down was just a show on the WWE YouTube,
it would be.
It's not
another show on the WWE YouTube,
right? And with the WWE logo and branding on it, would they have something where Kenny Omega plays against Xavier Woods in a video game tournament? I don't think the WWE would put that on their own channel.
No, easily not. Or the New Day versus the Elite.
Right.
That Street Fighter thing. That was. So they're starting to understand.
It's just a
the
shame
social
for
media
Ryder
stuff
they
better.
didn't understand.
No, he almost came along too early, because he was really on the cutting edge of being a youth. Like when the idea of a YouTube celebrity or a YouTube personality wasn't a thing.
He was that.
He was of that first generation of influencers, of people who were famous on social media, and they just from there didn't get it.
Also, they didn't use his internet championship. That was the sole.
No, he went
rounds.
Right. He went and got this very nice, I think Wildcat belts made it. He spent like $2 or $3 grand on this belt, and they never used it. They made an action figure with it, but they never used it. You can use it in a video game. You can go on WWE 2K right now and make it a belt, but they did not use
all that money in it just there.
And I feel like with the way social media is now, the ability to broadcast live on all these platforms, on Instagram or Snapchat or Twitter or Periscope, whatever, and to put up videos. We've talked about this before. An internet championship where you get a pop-up on your phone, tune into the WWE network. Luke Gallows is trying to win the internet championship from, fucking whoever, some other underneath guy. Right. And you go and you flip, and you can go on the WWE Network app, or you can go on YouTube Live, or you can go to the Instagram Live, and you can check out the title match. And it only lasts a couple minutes, and somebody wins and runs away, because it would be almost like a 24/7 kind of thing.
Yeah, make it the hardcore championship style.
Right, and it could be defended 24/7 anywhere, as long as there's an official and 2 or more competitors. And just throw it up. It could be, and it wouldn't even have to be from the official WWE stuff. It could be from like the New Day's individual Instagram account.
They're like, hey, you got a notification from Kofi Kingston.
Like, what if Kofi Kingston goes live and he pulls his phone up and he says, "Hey, it's Kofi Kingston. I'm here with a referee," and
I'm with here with Big E, and he's challenging for the internet championship.
Right, and then they grab a referee, and everything is happening live as they're doing it. Hey, referee, come here. We're we're going here. Find the guy. Get and you get to engage in the whole. It's an event rather than just.
And you have no idea where they're going to be. So
right, are they going to be in the arena? Are they at Chick-fil-A? Like, what are they doing? You don't know.
That was always fun with the
ball pit one.
Yeah.
I like the ball pit one. I know people shit on that.
And they go down the slide and everything.
And he does like a rope swing or something into a kick.
I love the fact that the camera followed him.
Yeah, that was kind of the goofy thing. That was like when The Rock got pinned in that empty arena match, and the camera is going down with the forklift thing, and you see the camera just zoom in on The Rock's face. You're like, yeah, that's fake as fuck, but still entertaining. But yeah, that would be something they could do, and they've got so many underneath guys that aren't on TV every week. Use them for something. Have an internet championship where you can go live on Instagram, because those guys don't get TV time. I don't know, just different things. So I think we're in a good position right now as a fan. We have I talked about how WWE is the McDonald's of wrestling. Well, you've got a Burger King and a Chick-fil-A and a Taco Bell all opening up in the same neighborhood. So you've got your pick now. And maybe you'll always go back to your Big Mac, but every so often you want a Whopper, and you're going to go get that Whopper now. So we'll see who the Whopper is, though. Is it going to be All Elite Wrestling? Is Ring of Honor going to throw more money in? I don't know. I don't have that kind of insight, but it'll be interesting to follow over the next.
Yeah, that kind of insight, you'd be behind one of those companies, right?
Seriously. I mean, listen, I've seen Cody backstage at shows, not recent, very recently, but within the last couple years. He was always very involved and asked a lot of questions and made himself aware of things that were happening. So it wasn't just his involvement in his one match that he was wrestling that night.
Yeah, he's trying to pick up everything.
And him and the Young Bucks, from what I hear, Cody is going to be the producer of the show, and the Young Bucks are going to be the agents for the matches, and so won't the SCU guys, Daniels, Kazarian, Scorpio Sky.
That makes sense.
So, and because they're all experienced, and here's the thing: if Christopher Daniels, who was 40-something years old, and Kazarian was 40-something years old, they decide they want to not be in the ring, they don't have to wrestle, but they can be the agents for the matches. They can manage somebody. They can be a commissioner or a general manager. There's room for them, and they still get to help the product backstage.
Wasn't Cody producing the All In?
Yeah, and I know the guy that did the live, the videoing of the whole process, because it's more than
anything you can share.
I mean, he didn't really share a lot of backstage stuff, but it's just it was a unique situation because
that's exactly why I'd love to know.
It was the reason it's going to always be unique is that the next show is All Elite Wrestling's Double or Nothing.
Yeah.
This first show had a lot of involvement from New Japan and from Ring of Honor. Are they going to want to do that now? Maybe not.
That is a good question.
I don't think they want to. I don't think Ring of Honor and New Japan are going to offer to send wrestlers over and involve them in cross-promotional stuff with this new company because maybe it's going to take away from their bottom line.
It's a harder sell now.
Yeah, it was the idea was this is a true independent wrestling show where free agents or representatives from all different independent companies can come together and wrestle on this one big show, All In. Now it's owned by somebody. Now there's a name on it. Now if you're working Double or Nothing, you are a contracted member. Presumably you're a member of the All Elite Wrestling roster.
Yeah.
So the cross-promotional stuff is yet to be seen, if there's going to be any, or if they're just going to strictly try and lock down guys to contracts. Wish I knew more. But yeah, the guy who did the live event filming and all that, it's such a process because they have they have to make sure it's streaming. He did the NWA 70 event too. That event was kind of a mess, but I don't think it was, it wasn't necessarily his fault. It was what it was. It was the first time that NWA tried to put an event together. Obviously, there's going to be some
technology can be finicky,
growing pains. Oh, absolutely.
In good situations, let alone in less than ideal.
And
like you could have all the T's crossed and everything, and it could just
and
be like, oh, nope, I'm not working.
Having it live on the internet, a lot of things can go wrong. Having it live on pay-per-view, a lot of things can go wrong. And luckily for the All In show, nothing really went wrong.
Yeah.
All In was pretty solid. The NWA show had some road bumps, but or speed bumps rather. Any other things, because we're getting towards the top of the hour here. SmackDown's going to start in about 5 minutes. Any other things we need to address that we haven't this week?
No, I think that was really the big thing was really Elite.
Yeah. SmackDown's going to be good.
Yeah,
one segment in particular, but
what are you talking about?
Cena coming back.
Oh, right, Cena's returning with his fucking hair.
Yeah, it's more who comes out with Cena than Cena himself.
Hair. Yeah, I haven't read any spoilers.
You read.
I saw who goes in the ring with Cena. It's pretty interesting. But other than that, I haven't read any spoilers for the show because I wanted to, if I'm going to be watching it, I'll go into it fresh.
I wanted to see what I missed out on.
Oh, yeah, because you had tickets and people.
No, I did pay for them. I was going to. They were $30 up till the day of.
Oh, all right. I see what you're saying.
Everybody was like, oh, no, I have other plans. So I didn't want to take the drive myself.
Yeah, I get it. Well, boo to them.
Yeah, boo on all of them.
Hey, and listen, if you guys sent in questions or comments or anything like that, we will get to them next week. Kat and Amanda were not able to join us tonight, so they always take care of that stuff. So we'll definitely get to it next time.
And that's AskTheWarReport@gmail.com or hashtag AskTheWarReport, and tag @TagMeADate on social media, on Twitter or Instagram with your question. And it will be entered into a WrestleRumble.com pay-per-view pick'em contest. So one email or question a month we select as the winner. You get a free WrestleRumble.com pick'em entry. And if you win the WrestleRumble.com pay-per-view pick'em, or you finish in the top 10, you'll get a really cool prize. WrestleRumble.com only costs $5 to enter, but we will give you a free entry if you send in a question to AskTheWarReport@gmail.com or hashtag AskTheWarReport. Other than that, I guess, should we do our plugs for the YouTube and the social media and all that?
Yeah, let's do
Why
it.
not?
How are we looking with making official announcements on things?
Listen, I'm very hopeful that tomorrow I will know exactly what's going on and we'll be able to make the official announcement. So there is a very good chance that the announcement will be made next week. No guarantees, but I'm very hopeful that that's going to go down.
All right, so there you go, a little teaser for next week. And of course, if you want to join us next week, you go to our YouTube page, youtube.com, type in Tag Me a Date in the search bar, Tag Me a Date, all one word, you squish it together. You'll see the Tag Me a Date YouTube channel where you can subscribe, hit the bell for notifications for when we go live or upload new videos. And you can look at our archive of old shows or prior shows. And we go live 7 p.m. on Eastern Time on Tuesday evenings. So next Tuesday, 7 p.m. on Eastern Time, make sure if you're in a different time zone, you adjust accordingly. You can join us, and maybe we'll have some updates on tagmeadate.com and as it relates to our mobile apps for various mobile devices. Of course, if you have a mobile device, you can go to tagmeadate.com right now, and it is absolutely 100% able to work on the browser of your mobile device or your tablet. So go to tagmeadate.com and subscribe or log in. It is absolutely free to sign up for tagmeadate.com. You can send messages without a charge, post status updates, no charge, post a profile picture or promo video, no charge. It is free to use, free to search, free to match, free to talk. Go to tagmeadate.com and find your tag team match. Find your tag team partner at tagmeadate.com with a roster of over 70,000 superstars and divas all over the world. You can search by location, search by your favorite wrestler or your favorite event or your favorite manager. Lots of different ways you can search. And again, it is all free. So check out tagmeadate.com. Be sure to sign up. And again, we'll have some updates next week as it pertains to perhaps our mobile apps. So we will see you all next Tuesday right here on YouTube, 7 p.m. on Eastern Time. Thank you so much for tuning in.